Hello all viewers and welcome to Instant Biology by Dr. Nilab. The topic that we would be dealing today is RAPD. We have already been discussing about genetic markers. We had already discussed about RFLP, that is restriction fragment length polymorphism. That was the first genetic marker that we said in our last lecture. So in today's lecture we would continue our discussion on genetic markers, and this time we would be dealing with RAPD. For those viewers who have not seen the RFLP lecture, I would insist them that please go and watch the lecture of RFLP. That would definitely make this lecture comparatively easy for you. Okay, so let us just start by briefing upon what are genetic markers. Genetic markers are specific sequences of DNA that can be used to distinguish different individuals, different species, for allelic polymorphism, for genetic diversity. They can be used for these things, right? So in the last lecture we had said we had discussed about restriction fragment length polymorphism, that is RFLP. In today's lecture we would be dealing with RAPD. Now let us discuss RAPD with starting with the full form of this technique. RAPD stands for random amplification polymorphic DNA. So R stands for random, A stands for amplification, P stands for polymorphic, and again D stands for DNA, right? So what does random mean? Random mean any sequence. Okay, it does not mean, it is just the opposite of specific. So it means any sequence. Okay, amplification means to make multiple copies, polymorphic means having more than one forms, and DNA, again DNA is the genetic material that we are working upon. So what is RAPD? Again, it is random amplification polymorphic DNA. As the in biology I have said it time and again that once you are aware, or once you break down the entire word into its constituent what do you say terms, then you can easily understand the meaning of the technique. So here also you can say that random amplification polymorphic DNA means here random sequences are amplified of the DNA. You have a DNA template, and with the help of a PCR you amplify random sequences. Now how do you get hold of those random sequences? We will just come to know when we proceed in the lecture. So in the second point, what do we have is no specific knowledge of the sequence. You do not need to know about the sequence. If you just remember, for the viewers who have seen the video on RFLP, I had told you there that proper knowledge of the sequence is required for that technique to work. Why? Because if you know the proper sequence, then only you would choose, what do you say, restriction enzymes that will have proper sites, that would have specific sites where that restriction enzyme would work and cut the DNA fragment into multiple halves. Wherever the restriction site is present, the restriction enzyme will go and cut that sequence. So for that technique we needed to know about the information about sequence. Okay, but in this particular technique we do not need to know about the sequence information. So this is a very important point that you need to consider while studying RAPD, right? So here, next point, coming to the next point, arbitrary short primers are used. What does arbitrary means? Random. Short primers are used. The length of the primers should be short. Now let us consider this, that more is the length of the primer, higher would be the specificity of the primer, right? More is the length, higher would be the specificity of the primer to bind with the sequence. It would bind to a particular sequence only. Why is that so? Because you need to understand this, that the sequence, DNA sequence, is made up of A, T, G and C. So the probability of getting that particular sequence that is complementary to the primer would be very less. So the specificity would be more if you increase the length of the primer, right? But if the length of the primer is less, then what will happen? There would be high chances of this particular primer to bind any region of the DNA fragment that you have with you, right? So as you increase the length, as you increase the length of what? Of the primer, the specificity increases, and once you decrease the length of the primer, the specificity decreases, right? You need to understand this. Okay, so here what do we use? Here generally short primers are used. I will tell you in detail about this. Not only short primers are used, but long primers are also used. We would go and study this in the variations of RAPD. When we study about the variations of RAPD, we will go through this. Let us just for now understand that generally short primers are used. Okay, now let us go on to discuss the next point. Can be employed across species using universal primers. Here, of course, universal primers are used because these primers can be used for multiple species. Okay, this is not specific for one particular species. We can use these primers for multiple species. That is why these primers are called universal primers in the first place. Okay, so we have discussed these 3 points. What all we have studied is that what is the full form of RAPD, random amplification polymorphic DNA. We do not need to know about the information of the DNA that we have to work upon. Next is we need to utilize short primers. Higher is the length of the primer, more would be the specificity. Lesser would be the length, the lesser would be the specificity. Next, these primers are universal primers that can be used for n number of species that are global, right? So we have studied about these points. Now let us understand that what all is RAPD used for. It is used for species differentiation. You can differentiate between different species. Genetic diversity, population or evolutionary genetics. We have already discussed some of these factors in the RFLP lecture. You can go and read about that. Next is a very important point that I would like to emphasize upon, that it is a dominant marker. If you recall about the lecture of the RFLP, we had said or we had discussed that RFLP is a co-dominant marker. That means it cannot, I again repeat, that it can distinguish between homozygous and heterozygous. When the marker is codominant, it can distinguish between homozygous and heterozygous, but once the marker is dominant, it cannot, I repeat, that it cannot be used to distinguish between homozygous and heterozygous, right? So this is a limitation, this is a disadvantage of RAPD. Okay, we will discuss that how this disadvantage can be circumvented, or how this can be utilized for how this can be, how this can be changed in order to study our traits or our characters, right? So we would discuss this portion later. First of all, let us go on to discuss the procedure of RAPD. What is the procedure of RAPD? In this RAPD, we have this DNA fragment. Okay, we have the DNA fragment with us. You have to just focus upon this, that here this fragment is double stranded. This is double stranded DNA. Okay, so this is the first strand, this is the second strand. You can see in the first process, what you have to do is you have to isolate the DNA from the organism that you want to work upon. You have to isolate the DNA. Next, you will have to you will have to use the PCR in order to amplify that a particular stretch of DNA that we have already talked about in the when we were defining RAPD, right? So as we said, this is the first strand, this is the first strand, this is the second strand. When you put in the PCR, what are the ingredients of a PCR? You have to have the DNA sample, you have to use the DNT piece, you have to use the buffers, you have to use the Taq polymerase, right? When you put all of these into a PCR tube, and then you put the PCR tube into the PCR, which is a thermocycler, and then switch it on with a program, and then it runs and it amplifies the DNA that you want to work upon, right? So this this is the portion that will happen in the PCR tube once you put in the primer and the DNT piece and everything and all the PCR ingredients. In the first step, you in this you can see that this is the first position. This is the first position. Here what happens? A primer aligns. Okay, this red arrow shows a primer. Again here at the fourth position also a primer aligns. At second position a primer aligns. At fifth position a primer aligns. At third position a primer aligns, and at sixth position also a primer aligns. Now let us understand, after the PCR has completed its cycle, what would you get? You would get product A and product B that would be corresponding to this particular region and this particular region. Now why didn't you get this product 1 and 4? Why couldn't 1 and 4 primers produce a particular product? The answer to this is because the region between 1 and 4 is pretty long. Okay, so the Taq polymerase could not amplify this region and you did not get a product over here, right? So what product have you got? You have got product A and product B that are corresponding to this particular region and this particular region. Okay, so let us understand this now. Let us understand in this is individual 1 and this is individual 2. Okay, again similarly we have this double stranded DNA. Again we have this double stranded DNA. We have these first sequence, this is second sequence. Again this is the region 1, this is the region 4, this is region 2. Mind that in this particular region, region 2, there is no primer that is bound over here, whereas in region 5 there is primer that is bound. In region 3 there is primer that is bound, and in region 6 there is primer that is bound. Now let us consider that what happens in this particular sequence. Again, as I have already explained, that because 1 and 4, here also we had studied 1 and 4, but here I have just reversed the regions. 1 was in the upper strand here, and here it is in the down strand, right? This region has not been amplified just because of the similar reason. This region was very high in length. That is why the Taq polymerase could not amplify this region. We could not get a product over here. Now next, because here only one primer is present, you can see that here at fifth position one primer is present, and at the second position the complementary primer is not present. So what will happen here? Also you won't get a product, unlike you got a product over here. Here you got a product, but here you won't be able to get the product because the primer has not bound to this particular region. Okay, next, here the primers have bound properly, so you would be able to get the product, that is product B over here. Okay, so you can see that for different individuals and at different occasions also, once you try and repeat this process, it is not necessary that the primers will bind at these particular positions only. They can bind at different positions also. So that is why we say that RAPD does not have a good reproducibility. It won't produce the same results once you try to repeat the process. Okay, so the reproducibility of RAPD is very less. This is an disadvantage of this particular technique. Okay, so you have got this product B and product B. This is what you get after an RAPD. So you can go on and match these results and try to work upon the process that you had taken in. You can work upon that. So I would like to now cover up that why how this dominant marker can be used to solve out our purposes. This dominant marker can be converted into a scar marker. Now let us understand that what is a scar marker. Scar is sequence characterized amplified region marker. Once again, scar is sequence characterized amplified region marker. Now how do you make use of it? You obtain the PCR product that you have obtained over here. You just run an agarose gel. In the first lane you put in your first product, and in the second lane you put in your second product. Once you for instance you have got these bands, and after getting these bands, suppose you want to work upon this band, you take out the DNA that is present in this band by the elution method, and then you clone it with the help of a clone, then find out the sequence of that particular clone, and next it is characterized. Then you get the SCAR, that is sequence characterized. As the name suggests, sequence characterized, you put in the characters in that particular, or you annotate this particular sequence or DNA sequence, then you get the SCAR marker, and this can be used for your purposes, right? So now coming to the limitations, what are the limitations of this particular RAPD technique? As I have already told you, that it is of low reproducibility. Once you try to reproduce or repeat this experiment, it is not necessary that the primer would bind at this position only, it can bind to a different position. So getting the same results each time is not ensured. It is not it does not have a good reproducibility, in other words. Next, it is a dominant marker, as I've said. Now, what are the disadvantages of being a dominant marker? As we had already studied in RFLP technique, that RFLP could be used in order to solve the parental disputes, the criminal cases, but here this RAPD technique cannot be used for solving those problems, that is criminal disputes or parental disputes, because we cannot use it to recognize the homozygous and heterozygous sequences, right? Now coming to the last portion of this RAPD technique, I would just like to brief you that what are the variations of RAPD. There are generally two variations of RAPD. First one is APPCR and second one is DAF. Now what is APPCR? APPCR is arbitrary primed PCR and DAF is DNA amplification fingerprinting. So in APPCR, what do we use is, APPCR uses large length of primers, and DAF, that is DNA amplification fingerprinting, utilizes small length of primers. So this is the difference between both of these, and this is about the variations of RAPD technique. So this was an overview of RAPD technique, which is a genetic marker. This was a second lecture in the lecture series of genetic markers. I hope this video lecture would help you and you would have understood the RAPD technique. If you have any queries regarding this lecture, kindly post it into the comment box, and I would aim at solving it in the next lecture. One thing more I would like to share, that I have formed a Telegram channel, and the link to that has been given in the description of the video. Kindly join my Telegram channel and we can discuss in detail about different videos. Next thing that I would like to say is, if you like this lecture, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.